All right, guys, Zach Twardowski here. It's an honor to be on the TNL today. Before I get into, the topic for today, I just wanted to, again, give another shout out to Family First Life, Sean, Mike, Integrity, all the Family First Life corporate staff and all the other, amazing staff people throughout the company that chipped in, helped out to make that event. I think, what was truly the best event we ever had. And I think we're going to see a ton of growth coming out of it. And, from the free leads that were given away to the money raised for the Dream Center, to everyone, getting there early, staying late, the Hall of Fame dinner, seeing all the, Hall of Fame producers there, and, the awards dinner, getting to see everyone, or the awards, getting to see everyone go across stage, and, the just countless people we recognized. I think it was an absolutely amazing event, and I'm just blessed to be part of the team. And, thanks everyone for watching today, and thanks everyone for attending convention. I know, 2023 is going to be a massive year. Because of the team that we have. We have an amazing group of people that we get to work with, and it's an honor. I was so excited to be there every day and to learn from everyone, and learn from people who have been here for longer than me and shorter than me and everywhere in between. And if you missed it, don't miss another one, because I thought it was a phenomenal event, and I think you'll see a ton of growth from the people that were there. It's gonna be part of what I talk about today. My topic is how to scale your agency, and I think events like that, and being really good at building around events and pushing people to events make a big difference. And the reason that is, as you start building a business, especially when you're still selling, you have limited time to spend with each individual person. There's only so many hours in a day. Even if you sleep, 5 hours, and, you got to do what you got to do on the personal side and working, there's only so much time. So events like the annual convention, things of that nature, they're leverage for you in your business, right? Because they're a smaller amount of work for you. Yes, you have to show up. Yes, you have to talk to everyone, get people there. But there's a lot of amazing people. For me, I was like, man, some of these people are so much better at selling than I was ever at selling, and they're better at recruiting, and they're better at all these different things, better at managing a business. So it's way more exciting for me to get our agents there and our team there to learn from those people than it is for, me to have to train everyone individually. So events like that are a small amount of work, but it's a big payout because there's so much leverage by having other people train your agents, right? So that's kind of the first thing I want to start with. Make sure you pay attention to high leverage events, things like that that you can put a smaller amount of effort in, right? It's still effort on your part. You still have to do the work, but you get a big return because of the the resources that are in place. So like similar things like the TNL every Friday, right? We've preached this for years with our group, and if I can get everyone on this call and I can have everyone listen to the people that are on here training and make sure everyone's on it, then I can use the one call to get done training to, 1,000 agents at the same time, as opposed to me having to have the same conversation with, even 20 people, and then they all have the same conversation with their 5 people. We can get everyone trained at the same time. So make sure you're using the resources that are laid out to you, to your advantage. Another example of an important resource like this would be, for everyone who was at convention, FFL is working at getting the video out, but Sean recorded a video on stage going over FFL, the opportunity, what we have, how everything works. And it was a short 7-minute clip, but it was basically like, maybe what you would look at like an elevator pitch of, a general basic overview of the company, right? And that's another thing that you can use that takes a small amount of effort on your part, right? Every single person that, applies to a job ad, or you reach out to through a direct message, or you recruit, you can send every single one of those people something simple like the overview video that Sean recorded at convention. And then with that video, at the end of it, he says, get back to whoever sent this video to you, and they'll give you the next steps, right? So things like that, you can have an initial conversation, send out, and give you a big ROI on time, because you don't have to have the same conversation. You can say, hey, instead of me explaining this is how I'm going to use it. Instead of me going through and explaining how to use, explain everything about the company, the CEO and founder of FFL made a video that explains everything about FFL within 7 minutes. I want you to watch it. As soon as you're done with it, call me back, right? That's a 30-second conversation I can have, and I can have, exponentially more of those throughout the day. And then I can send that video, and then the people that are serious and are interested will reach back out to me, and then I can talk to them. But I let Sean do the heavy leg lifting and the heavy leg work of that conversation, because he's the founder and CEO of the company. He's the best person at explaining what we do. He's incredibly passionate about the company. He knows it obviously better than anyone because he started it. And, I'd rather have him be the face and the first person that they see. And then at the end of the video, it says, get back with the person that sent this to you, right? So I think it's make sure, when you have resources and stuff like that at your disposal, like convention, like that video, like things like the ILC works, but all these things that we've built in to take the load off of the managers, all the training, all the boot camps you have, all the things that help you buy your time back. make sure you're utilizing them and using them to your full potential. Cause that way you're not having to spend, 5, 6, 7, 10 hours with an agent. You can use some of these resources and have conversations with them in between. My favorite thing to do is send someone like a boot camp and go, hey, once you get through all this, write down any questions that you still have. And whatever questions you have, once you've completed all of our training, get back to me and we'll go over whatever you need clarified still. And a lot of times people may have tons and tons and tons of questions, but once they go through the boot camp and once they go through whatever training you sent them, or they may have a bunch of questions about how FL works, but then you send them the video and then you can just answer any additional questions. And then you can do what you need to do, which is interview them or train them on this, or train them on that. So make sure you're using resources properly. As far as scaling an agency, really, and I learned this from, John Wetmore early on in business, but like this business sort of comes in 3 different stages, right? The first stage is you have to learn how to sell insurance. Like if you can't sell, you're not gonna be able to teach anyone else how to sell, which is the second one, right? So number 1, you learn how to sell. Number 2, you learn how to teach other people how to sell. And then 3 is you teach other people to teach other people how to sell, right? And part of 3 is you teach other people how to teach other people how to recruit as well. So, step 1, if you're new and you're like, I want to end up building an agency at some point, you have to go out and put your head to the grindstone and figure out how to help 20, 30, 40 families a month on your own. Once you do that, then you learn how to teach other people how to do it. And same thing is through trial and error. You bring on some agents, you recruit some people, you show them how to do it. You train them exactly on what you're doing. The more you sell, the easier it is to train people on what you're doing, because you can just, instead of going and saying, hey, you should do this and you should do that, and it sounds like it's a theory or something, you can just go, hey, this is what I'm doing. Why don't you come into my office at 7:30 a.m. and dial with me? Hey, this is what I'm doing. Why don't you jump on Zoom with me and we're going to close clients over the phone together? Hey, this is what I'm doing. Why don't we get on at 6 p.m. after we're done selling for the day and do recruiting on Instagram for, an hour together, and we'll send messages together. I'll share my templates. So it's all, hey, why don't we do this together? This is what I'm already doing. Why don't you do it with me? As opposed to, hey, you should do this, right? Because I think people are much more inclined to do and to get into the trenches with you if you're doing it at the same time as them, instead of sitting in an ivory tower telling them what to do and you're not doing any of the work. So first thing is learn how to sell, learn how to recruit. Second thing is learn how to teach other people how to do it. And I think when it comes to teaching other people how to do it, is really good at asking questions the same way you do it in home, right? And the way I look at it is, if someone's not selling at a high level, the tendency is to be like, hey, what do you need help with? And if you ask that question, the agents will probably tell you, I need help with my presentation, my pitch, my in-home, my virtual presentation, whatever it is, right? And the reality is that's usually not the answer. So I like to try to look at it in 3 different categories. I'm like, either they're having a hard time closing, right? Which is the least likely one. They're not getting enough presentations, right? Or they're not getting enough lead flow, or they're not dialing enough. So I ask enough questions to figure out which one it is, right? Like, how many dials did you make for the day? How many people did you get a hold of? How many people you got a hold of did you get into an appointment with? If you're doing virtual sales, how many people you got a hold of did you start a presentation with? If you're doing in-home, how many people that you scheduled an appointment with did actually showed up? How many people that you talked to did you book an appointment with, right? Because then you can start going through and measuring and by taking the measurables, figure out where the agents are struggling at, right? So for instance, if I'm talking to Bob and Bob, made a few hundred phone calls, and out of that few hundred phone calls, he talked to 30 people, and out of 30 people, he set 15, right? And then out of the 15, 6 showed up. I know immediately, okay, I need to work with him on his phone script to tie people down better, right? Or if I know he set 15 and 12 showed up and he only helped 3 of them, then I know we need to work on his in-home, right? Or if, Bob made 1,000 dials and only had 20 people pick up the phone and set 2 of them, then I know we need to work on his phone script again. And then again, you just have to ask enough questions to figure out. Because I had an agent recently go, hey, I made 500 phone calls. I only had 10 people pick up the phone and I booked 5 of them. I'm like, well, that's pretty good. But how did you make that many dials? I only had this many people pick up the phone. And we looked at it, and she made 500 dials on the same 20 leads. So out of 20 leads, having 10 pick up and setting 5, not bad, right? Especially when you're using internet leads, paying a couple bucks a lead. But she didn't have enough leads. And she was willing to work really hard. So I'm like, oh, all you need to do is just triple the amount of leads you have, and then you have a full schedule good to go, right? And explaining too from there, like, hey, if you have this many leads, and whether you protect one family, your one family you protect is going to cover all the leads, whether you buy 20 or 60 of them, right? So you might as well just buy 60 so you have enough to make sure you can set a full schedule. And then the next thing is teaching other people how to, teach other people. So teaching other people how to be managers, right? Teaching other people how to manage agents, teaching them how to teach people how to sell, which is just, going through what I just went through with you all and showing them what measurables are important to pay attention to, which things are significant when it comes to, to teach agents how to sell, teach agents how to build, and just making sure and letting your managers know, hey, if you have agents that you're talking to, you need help with, it's okay to come to me, get all their metrics, come to me and I can run through a game plan with you and show them, or we can jump on a 3-way call or a Zoom together and I can help you break down and figure out what issues they're having and why, right? So let your managers know that they don't have to figure it out on their own, because when I was new, again, I reached out to people like John and Andrew and Sean and was like, this agent is having, and Mark Mead, and this agent's having this issue, how do I fix it, right? And if they couldn't teach me how to do it, I would just get that agent on the phone with them. And I remember, like, it's the most significant story of this was I was not good at teaching people how to sell in the beginning. And Easton was out there working really hard and I just couldn't figure it out. So I called Mark Mead and he was like, let's just get on a 3-way call. So I called Mark, called Easton, got together. Mark fixed it. I learned by listening to Mark how to do it. Easton, all of a sudden, because of Mark's guidance, is helping, 50 families a month forever after that. I didn't know what I was doing. I just reached out for help. And I think I would encourage all the other agents to make sure you're doing the same thing. And then when you start teaching people how to recruit, it's a similar thing. I think a lot of people initially in the beginning feel the pressure to go, okay, I have to get to, 30 recruiting calls a week and 30 appointments a week, which is true. Like once you get to 30 appointments a week, that's great. And you want to be able to spend the same amount of time recruiting as you are on selling insurance. But I think a lot of people forget when you first started selling, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, you don't necessarily get to 30 appointments a week from day one. You might run 10 your first week. You might run, 15 your next week. You might run, 20, 25, and just you start building up and you start building up the stamina that you have to it. Because I would much rather people be able to do, 20 to 25 appointments a week or 30 appointments a week for an entire year, as opposed to do 40 or 50 appointments one week and then 10 the next because they can't sustain the pace, right? So I think it's really important. Same as on the running side and the appointment side and the sales side, you have to build up and be able to have a sustainable stamina, because the people that have stamina will outlast people that run in big spurts. So same on the recruiting side is, we need to have activity every day. And what activity can you sustain for a full year, for 2 years, for 3 years? Because I'd much rather someone go and if someone could just do, recruit one person a day for a full year, right? That's 365 people for the year. That's much better than someone who can go, man, I recruited, 20 people this week, but then they're so worn out and they can't sustain that pace that they can't recruit anyone else for another month because they're trying to sift through all the stuff that they had there. And then they take that month off and the next month they do another 20, right? And then so by the end of the year, maybe they do, 70 people that they recruit, but the person who just does one a day and does it consistently has 365 people, which even if, only half of those people make it through and, the average agent helps 10 families a month, you still have an agency that, is helping 1,000 families a month by the end of the year, right? Just by doing by recruiting and putting one person in class or contracting one person every single day. So what I'd recommend to people, and I talked to a few people at convention about this, they're like, how do I get to this, to interviewing 30 people a week, right? Because I told them what my goal was, what our goal still is we want to add a minimum of 2 new writers a month, or 2 new writers a week, issue paid writers a week. If we do that, that's over 100 issue paid writers for the year. That means we add 1,000 families help direct to our agency, which is our goal, right? And we're definitely gonna do that this year. But to get to that level in the beginning, I had to start somewhere that I could sustain, right? And so what I did is I started can I just recruit one person every single day? And I just ran that schedule for a couple weeks, probably a month, right? Until where I could consistently keep doing one a day, would never miss one a day. No matter what happened, no matter how crazy my day was, I still recruited one person every single day. And then once I got that down, I said, all right, let's double it. Let's do 2 recruits a day, right? And then 3 recruits a day, and then 4 recruits a day. And then as it starts getting crazier, I'm like, what staff do I need to add to help me get to, 5 recruits a day? And then, how do we get to, so now we're at 5 recruits a day, 35 for the week. Okay. Now how do I start teaching other people how to do the same thing? And so then once you are doing it and you have proven the model and you prove what it does for your business, for cash flow, how it all works, how you're growing, then you go to your other managers and go, hey, this is how I started. I started adding one person every single day. I did it through, social media. I did it through, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, outbound messaging, all in the beginning, and then started adding on a couple paid advertising sources, later on. But you can do a significant amount of damage just by outbound every single day, direct message recruiting. And so I proved the model first myself. And then I prove it at a high level. And then I show our other agents, other managers how to do it and how they can replicate what I'm doing. Because the only way you can truly scale a large agency is by you being able to do something, you proving it, and then every other single person on your team being able to replicate the same thing. Because I look at it like, if can I replicate it with 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people? And if the answer is no, and I can't replicate it with 1,000 people, then there's no reason for me to be doing it, because it won't ultimately help me scale my agency. So that's my time for today. I appreciate y'all having me on.